was unmistakable, the well-known thud of an object hitting a heavy body of water, and wherever it was coming from, it was not the bows of the armed cutter. This reprised the fear of going aground, the second rhythmic slap doing nothing to bring about reassurance. Yet as it continued, it carried with it none of the other sounds associated with waves cascading on a shore, no hissing of trapped water escaping over rocks. Then some timbers moved so seriously as to send a crack of strained wood out into the night, and it was not off his own vessel. "A ship," Pearce hissed. "Reckon," came the soft reply. Peering outwards, Pearce looked for any glint of light, only to conclude there was none. "Holy Christ, it could be a ghost ship." The whisper had an air of panic about it, reminding Pearce of just how superstitious was the average Jack Tar, even if in this case it was no tyro but a leading hand. The temptation to scoff was high. The man in command of HMS Larcher did not believe in spectral spirits, yet it seemed inappropriate in the circumstances, so instead a firm hand was applied to a barely visible shoulder to induce calm. "Steady now, man. I will take the wheel. Go below and rouse out the crew, but quietly. No bells, no drums, and make sure they are silent as they ascend to the deck." "Aye, aye, sir." No sooner had Pearce got his hand on the spokes, having released the leather strap by which it had been secured, than the rocket went up, seeming to rise from nowhere, a red streak of flame shooting skywards to form a starburst as it exploded, that accompanied by the flash of a signal gun, he thought somewhere to windward. What followed was both astounding and alarming, as all around the armed cutter great stern lanterns began to be lit over a vast expanse of sea, not in single figures, not even by the dozen, but to Pearce's vivid imagination by the hundreds, each one illuminating a small patch of deck on those he was close to, showing a sliver of white and phosphorescent wake, as well as the lower sails of what constituted an armada. "Mother of Christ, if we're not in the middle of a fleet!" Given the darkness of a moonless and starless night, it was like being placed in a candlelit galaxy, and if they were moving at a snail's pace, Pearce quickly realized the ships all around them were very obviously on an opposite course to his own. Even in the dark he knew the voice of the man who had uttered that curse to be his friend Michael O'Hagan. There was no mistaking that deep Irish brogue, and the religious nature of his blasphemy. He also sensed that the required warrants had taken up their places beside him, which proved to be so when each one named their task, so he would know they were present. That was followed by silence, as Pearce contemplated the dilemma in which they were trapped. Given their location, there was no way this fleet of vessels was friendly, but against that, from what he could see, and granted that was limited, they were not warships. They looked to be, certainly by the shape of their transoms and bluff bows, too squat for fighting, more in the line of merchant vessels, which in turn led to the deduction that this was a French commercial convoy, with the qualification that one of such dimensions must have an armed escort, and very likely a potent one. "Mr. Dorling, we need to find a reasonable patch of sea in which to come about, but very quietly. Can the hands do what is necessary without any calling out or shouted orders?" "I would say yes to that, sir." The tone of voice in that reply was worthy of examination. Much as he had come to like the crew of HMS Larcher, and much as he had seen their competence when sent about any particular duty, he still had areas of ignorance. It was as well to take into consideration that he was not their titular captain, but merely in temporary command from the mission upon which they had been so recently engaged. Dorling had sounded very assured, and really there was no choice but to go with his judgment. "Please relay the necessary orders, then come back to inform me when all is in place. Also tell our passenger below on no account is he to come on deck. Gunner? Captain? Mr. Kempsall."